What's going on, guys? I'm Tommy Nichols. You're watching BCV. Today, we got another one. American Badasses, the facts. This episode, General Stan Watie. He was a leader of the Cherokee Nation and the only Native Americans who ever reached the rank of general in either the Union or the Confederacy in the Civil War. So, sit back, relax, and take a ride with BCV as you learn about General Stan Firm. All right, guys, but before we get rolling, we have to give our shout outs and our thank yous. This video was requested by my little big brother, Sam Nichols. And he's over at Milton Insurance, guys. If you need any kind of insurance around here, he's the one you need to go talk to. Just ask around, ask anybody that's used them, or it's anybody that knows them. They will tell you he's got your best interest at hand. You can find them at 5149 Escambia Street, downtown Milton. And you can also find them at 850-623-0066. That's 850-623-0066. Give them a call for any and all your insurance needs. Okay, guys, let's hit it. His name was Stan Waite Dagadoga. Birthday December 12, 1806. In Cherokee Nation, modern day Georgia. His parents are David Watie and Susanna Reese. His occupation was a tribal leader and a military officer. His career summary: Chief of the Cherokees and the only Brigadier General in either the Union or the Confederate side that was Native American. Spouses: Sarah Caroline Watie, Elizabeth Fields, Isabel Watie, and Eleanor Watie. He perished in Delaware County, Oklahoma on September 9, 1871. He is buried at Polson Cemetery, Delaware County, Oklahoma. Stan Watie was born in Cherokee Nation near present-day Rome, Georgia in 1806. He was the son of Watie, a full-blooded Cherokee, and Susanna Reese, who was of half Cherokee, half European heritage. He was given a Cherokee name Dagataga, meaning stand firm, after Watie was baptized in the Moravian church as David Watie. He changed his son's name to Isaac Watie. But as an adult, the younger Watie combined his Cherokee and Christian names and would drop the U as well to get Stan Watie. As a student at the mission school, Watie learned to speak English, and he later helped his brother Buck to publish the Cherokee Phoenix, which was a tribal newspaper. By the time his son reached young adulthood, David Watie had become a wealthy planter who owned African American slaves. Beginning in 1829, thousands of prospectors poured into Georgia after gold was discovered in Cherokee territory. The gold rush led Anglo settlers to put increasing pressure on the Cherokees to relocate to reservations further west, aided by Congress's passage of the Indian Removal Act in 1830. Watie, who served as a clerk for the Cherokee Supreme Court, was among the minority of tribe members who supported removal of the Western Cherokee Nation, believing it was the only way to preserve the tribe's autonomy. In 1835, the group signed the Treaty of New Echota, ceding their ancient homelands in Georgia in exchange for land in Indian Territory, which is now modern-day Oklahoma. Watie would make the move west in 1837, settling in the northeastern corner of Western Cherokee Nation near Honey Creek. Thousands of other Native Americans evicted from their homes in the 1830s and forced to migrate west along the infamous Trail of Tears were not so lucky. And anybody that is Native American knows the horrors of the Trail of Tears. It was absolutely atrocious. In 1838, the United States military began forcing other Cherokees from Georgia. Out of an estimated 15,000 Cherokee who made the journey, as many as 4,000 perished. That's nuts, guys. Under Cherokee law, anyone who alienated tribal lands was subject to the death penalty. And in 1839, Watie's co-signers on the New Echota Treaty, his brother Boudinot, his uncle Major Ridge, and his cousin John Ridge were executed, Watie, who barely managed to escape the same fate, would become a prominent figure in Cherokee politics as a surviving member of the Ridge-Watie-Bodno faction and a lifelong enemy of principal Cherokee chief John Ross. He was also a slaveholder and established a successful plantation in Indian Territory. When the Civil War broke out in 1861, Watie wasted no time in joining the Confederacy, viewing the federal government, not the South, as the Cherokee's principal enemy. He raised the 1st Cherokee Regiment of the Confederate Army, the Cherokee Mounted Rifles, and helped secure control of Indian Territory for the rebels early in the conflict. At the Battle of Pea Ridge in Arkansas in March 1862, Watie's troops earned acclaim for capturing a Union battery in the middle of what turned out to be a Confederate defeat. By early 1863, the Confederate hold on Indian Territory was loosening, but Watie continued to torment Union troops there for the remainder of the war. On June 15, 1864, his men scored a major victory by capturing the Union steamboat J.R. Williams. The following September, they would seize some $1.5 million worth of supplies on a federal wagon supply train at Cabin Creek. Ross, who had reluctantly agreed to the Cherokee Confederate Alliance in 1861, ended up fleeing the federal territory, and Watie had become the principal Cherokee chief in August 1862. That made a heck of a circle right there, didn't it? Went from being an outlaw to now he's running the whole show. Crazy how that happens. Oh boy. Much of his activity during the later half of the war consisted of attacks against land and property of those in Indian Territory who stayed loyal to the Union. Even after a majority of the Cherokee repudiated the alliance with the Confederacy in 1863, Watie remained loyal, and he was rewarded for his constancy with a commission of Brigadier General. So dedicated was Watie to the Southern cause that he refused to acknowledge the Union victory in the waning months of the Civil War, keeping his troops in the field for nearly a month after Lieutenant General E. Kirby Smith surrendered the rest of the Confederacy's Trans-Mississippi Army on May 26, 1865, a full 75 days after Robert E. Lee met with Ulysses S. Grant at Appomattox. Watie became the last Confederate general to lay down his arms, surrendering his battalion of Creek, Seminole, Cherokee, and Osage Indians to Union Lieutenant Colonel Asa C. Matthews at Dokesville on June 23rd. So, guys, this man was committed to the cause. He was not going to give up. He was not going to surrender until it was well laid out in front of him. You have no other option. He fought like hell and fought all the way to the end. And even after the end. After the war, Watie returned to Indian Territory to rebuild his home, which federal soldiers had burned to the ground, sadly. He then traveled to Washington, D.C. to represent the Southern Cherokee during negotiations of the Cherokee Reconstruction Treaty of 1866, which stripped tribe members of vast tracts of land in Indian Territory in exchange for their reinstatement to the Union. Watie then retreated from public life in his old Honey Creek home, where he would die in 1871. This guy was an American badass, all right? He was determined to get what he thought was best at any cost. It didn't matter. What he thought was right, he was willing to fight for and die. And God forbid if you hurt anyone in his family. He didn't take that line down. He would literally go after you, as you see. Stand Watie, or stand Wait. Some say stand Wait, but it's stand Watie. To reach the rank of Brigadier General in the U.S. Army or Confederate States Army is absolutely crazy. It was unheard of for a Native American. But this man, against all odds, did so. Anyway, guys, I hope you learned something you may not have known today. And I hope you enjoyed it. I'm Tommy Nichols. Thanks for watching The Blue Collar Boys. Remember, You woke up in the greatest nation this world has ever known this morning. But it is up to each and every one of us to keep her that way. Eyes front, shields up. Toodles.